Well, good morning. I lost my phone. And I was like, where is my phone? I literally just had it. And I was just using it. And I found it. It was like under the sheets in my bed. So I guess when I was making my bed. Do you guys make your bed every morning? I do. I have to get into a bed that's made. It's one of my things. Anyway, so I was making my bed and I guess I just put my phone there and it got tucked in. So apologies for being late. I feel like I'm like not all off, but I like slept in this morning because I was like, okay, listen to your body. This is soul care. Like you need to just sleep in. And so I slept like 10 hours last night. I was away for the weekend and I'm going away again next weekend because next Tuesday is my 50th birthday. I'm like blown away that I'm 50. It's totally tripping me out, but like in a really good way. And not reminder, but I'm telling you, I'm not doing a live next week because I'm going to be away from like Saturday to Tuesday. So, but today I wanted to talk about anxiety, the media, and the comparison trap that I know we all fall into at some point or another. And I wanted to talk about like managing our anxieties and our fears when it comes to social media and when it comes to media in general. And so, our culture has become pretty much obsessed with media. And if you take a look at it, it is, and I'm talking media, and social media actually, it's infused with fear. And if you have ever observed the news, like, and not gotten like totally like drawn into it, like it's important that we observe it, okay, and not absorb it, especially for those who are empaths who feel and absorb every emotion and every form of energy. And if you could like take a step back when you're watching either the news or even as like you're scrolling through social media, like take a step back and observe what we are getting fed. And a lot of times we're just unconscious of it and we're getting fed all of this fear, okay? Because fear is what makes ratings. I remember back, I don't know, it was like 20 years ago, like when this makes me sad just even thinking that I'm about to say this, the first school shooting happened, when Columbine happened. And I remember I was in grad school, so it was longer than 20 years ago. And so, but I remember Michael Moore, who I think is a brilliant documentary person, made, absolutely, Amy, the purpose is to divide and conquer. Michael Moore made Bowling for Columbine. And one of the scenes that stuck out to me was that he was interviewing newscasters and like, the ones that go out and do the reporting, the news reporters, right? And so he was saying, hey, how do you decide what you're going to air? And it's like, if you had the choice and you saw like, there was a dog rescuing a kid from a river, which is like good news, right? Versus a shooting or something violent or fear-based, which one would you choose? And they were like, well, we would want to do the kid with the puppy or the dog, but we know that the fear and the shooting or the killing or whatever it is the one that's going to get more ratings, right? And so when I watched that, I was just like, holy shit, like that is a huge eye opener. And that was like 20 years ago. And so when we're getting fed all of this media all of the time, it's like we're in a state of hypnosis, right? If you're not aware of what you're getting fed. And even if it's not the news, like, you know, I watch crap television. Like, I am obsessed with like all of the really bad reality programming out there. And I watch it with an observer's eye. I'm not like, you know, absorbing it and thinking that like, you know, every relationship needs to be like The Bachelor, right? You know, and so, you know, but when you're not aware of what the media is feeding you, it could create fear, it could create anxiety, and also it could start to create that comparison game, you know, and so you're comparing yourself to, you know, somebody's like well-coiffed page, and you're like, wow, that person's life is perfect. And she has like the, you know, all of her kids look great and they're all well behaved and she's loving all the things. And, you know, and it's all a facade. It's all bullshit. 100%, Amy. It is awareness that is key. And when we are living our life and we're watching TV or we're just doom scrolling through social media, like what happens is we start to become, we go into a trance, quite honestly. Like when I describe hypnosis to people, one of the ways that I describe it is that, I'm sorry, I'm super distracted by this like totally beautiful, like maple tree outside of my house that's just like in full bloom with light. But it's like when you're, you know, when you're driving in a car, right, and you're like on the highway or whatever, and then you're just like do, and then all of a sudden you're just like, I just drove for like 5 miles and I was totally zoned out. Has that ever happened to you? I know Lynn and Amy are watching. Has that ever happened to you? That's happened to me. And I'm like, holy shit, I wasn't even paying attention, but I was just going. That is literally called highway hypnosis, right? And so that hypnotic state is just that trance-like state. It's a state of relaxation. And it's like that, you know, I always used to get the report cards saying that Nadia is a really bright girl, but she, what was it? Like I would daydream all the time. You know, and just kind of stare out the window. So that was like a form of hypnosis. And so when you're on social media or media, you have to be aware that like what's happening is that all of these images and emotions and all of the things, I know you too, are being absorbed by your subconscious mind. And then it creates anxiety, it creates in fear. Again, it creates that comparison trap, right? And then when you start comparing yourself to some person on social media, you're going to feel bad about yourself. Anytime that I've like with clients, with whatever, they're like, oh, when I start to compare myself, it's like, if you start to compare yourself with somebody, it is a 100% guarantee that you're going to feel bad about yourself. Have you ever, and I'd love to hear what you have to say about this for those who are watching live, like, have you ever compared yourself to somebody and then felt better about it? Like, I know I haven't, you know, because it just, like Amy said earlier, it's a divide and conquer kind of thing. And like, and that is like, it's an ego trap. It's a self-esteem trap. And it doesn't make you feel good, you know? And so it is about learning how to rise above and go, okay, I'm now doom scrolling. I'm now comparing myself to other people. How does that make me feel? How does that feel in my body? Does it feel good? Or does it feel kind of shitty? It feels kind of shitty. Like, don't even lie. Right. It never feels good. Right. And so the first thing to do is to manage those fears and anxiety, right? And the number one way to do that is to limit your media intake, right? And so I'm not talking about sticking your head in the sand and not know what's going on in the world. But again, it's that awareness. And what is your body telling you? 100%, it's a shitstorm sandwich. And that's kind of gross. Yes, find joy in yourself, Judy, and stop comparing, because it's never going to fill you up, right? And so like when you're watching this stuff or scrolling or whatever, like notice, like, is your stomach turning? Like, are your palms getting sweaty? Is your chest getting tight? Like, is your blood boiling? Like, you're getting so angry that there are other people with different like political beliefs than you or what have you, you know? And so like notice, where in your body do you feel it? Like, or do you just feel like I feel like when I'm doing it, like it just is just like it's like my energy goes from here to here. And then I feel it in my solar plexus, right? So here's another way to check into your chakras, is which chakra is getting activated. So for me, when I notice it, it gets activated in that solar plexus, which is all about personal power. And so I'd love to hear from you. Like, do you get the tightness in your chest? Do you get your throat closing? Do you get confused? Like, do you get something in the pit of your stomach? So like, notice where it is in your body, and then that'll also give you a clue as to which chakras need some loving. Different zones with different messages, 100%, same. And so again, listen to your body, and then if these things happen to you, which, I mean, drop it if they're not happening to you, because that's fucking awesome, but stop and take a deep breath. Like, the power of your breath is like beyond anything, the number one thing that you should do. I was reading The Power, I think it was The Power of Now, or maybe it was his like A New Earth. I don't remember which one. But in the book, I think it was The Power of Now, he was like talking about how he had met somebody and they're like, hey, I'm going to the Omega Institute, which is like a totally like super woo-woo, super spiritual development, awesome place in upstate New York. And like, he's like to Eckhart Tolle, like, which class should I take? Like, there's like tons of classes that I could take. And so he's like, you don't have to take any of these classes. Just breathe. Because the minute we take these deep breaths, the minute that we breathe deeply, it brings us back into that power of now, that present moment. And it helps us disconnect from that trance-like state that happens when we are scrolling or watching or absorbing all the shit that media tends to give us, right? So take a deep breath, put down your phone. And I'm laughing because I forgot my phone. Like, I lost my phone within like 5 minutes this morning, but I was like, oh, you know, like I need to do this, but it wouldn't be so bad if I just didn't have my phone on me for a couple of hours, right? But like, take a deep breath, go outside, take a walk around the block, or like, you know, get some fresh air, because oxygen plus movement equals a boost in serotonin levels, right? Which is one of your like happy hormones, as my friend who's a neuroscientist calls it. And it also decreases your cortisol levels, which is your stress hormone. So it's like a double whammy of goodness. And hold on, I got people. And how do we help kids who naturally compare themselves? Yes, teach them to listen to their bodies. Definitely teach them to listen to their bodies. Tell them to breathe. And, you know, and it's hard. And I think because I know we have kids this similar age, Judy, that I think it's also part of my take, and I would love to hear your take because I know that you're a doctor, but it's like when kids are little, they're like in their own world. They're like, I'm going to dance in the middle of a restaurant. Like, there's no awareness of anybody else around, and they're just these beautiful free spirits, right? And my sense, because my two are 12 and a half and like steeped in hormones and puberty, that I think that there's some sort of connection between hormone surges and hyper awareness of yourself, how your body is changing, what you're starting to go through in life. And it's, you know, whether it's the big things of like how, like you're comparing with other kids at school, or even like the smaller things, like it's like when we're sitting down to dinner with like Mia and Zoe, like we are literally like, first of all, they only come out of their rooms to eat. I feel like I'm like in a bed and breakfast or something, you know, anybody else? But it's hilarious, the conversations, because they're like, did you know, can you do this? You know, and they're like doing all these like double jointed things, or like, can you do this? You know, and we laugh because it is this hyper focus on themselves. And so when that happens, it is one of those things that I think that comparison thing is almost like, unfortunately, part of that process of like I'm kind of going a little off topic, but like, it's like we come in as these shiny souls, and then we have these life experiences, including the comparison thing. And then that chips away at our self-esteem and our self-worth, combined with life experiences, right? So it's like this bell curve, right? Or this inverse bell curve that at some point you're going to get to the bottom and be like, I feel pretty shitty about myself. I feel pretty unworthy. And then it's about, you know, and this isn't working for me, because as we all know, I could talk to them blue in the face, but nobody's going to like, I mean, I hope you guys are learning from me, but like the only real way that people learn is through their own experiences, right? And so at some point they're going to be like, this comparison thing isn't working for me. And so I need to start to build myself up. Like, what am I good at with kids? Like, you know, Zoe's making stuffed animals and furries. Mia loves to do art. Like, you know, so it's like finding this thing that they love and then encouraging that, you know. And so, but it's also like they're on their own journey, you know. And so, but it is also about learning how to like yourself. Inward growth during this time to help guide them into outward growth, 100%. And, you know, there are these two psychological terms called external locus of control and internal locus of control. And so when you're a kid, it's all about external validation, external locus of control. Like you're looking externally to find, yes, absolutely, modeling too, to find, that comfort and that control in your life. And at some point that has to shift to that internal locus of control, because the whole key of everything that I do is look inside. The answers are all inside. But like a good example of this is like when I was teaching my kids how to potty train, right? All developmental, but hey, stop doing that. Sorry, my cat is gonna start meowing and he's clawing on stuff he's not supposed to claw on. Anyway, when we are, so when we were potty training, I would do 1 Skittle for a pee and 2 Skittles for a poop, right? And I was even kind of like, I don't even know. I know, Elmo, always up to something. And I was like, am I gonna have to give candy to my kids every time they take a dump or whatever? But I was like, okay, this is behavioral stuff. I know it's going to work or whatever. And so it worked, right? Because they're getting rewarded. That's that external locus of control. They're getting rewarded for doing something like going to the potty. And then eventually, after like 3 or 5 days, they were able to check in with themselves and go, oop, I got to go to the potty. And then they would run and they would go to the potty. And then they kind of forgot about the candy. And my kids are like candy driven, right? And so it starts with that external, and then the goal is to have it internally. So I hope that answers your question, Judy. because I think it's part of the like the evolution or the developmental, that's the word I'm looking for. Like, it's part of that developmental psychology of, you know, how do I fit in? Am I that different from other people? And it's, you know, it is very much, you know, I almost feel like that comparison thing has to happen, because it's like, they have to look at the other person to be like, am I like that? Am I not like that? Do I, you know, so I think part of it is part of finding out who you are at that age. But if you're doing it at like fucking 50, like, that's, you shouldn't be doing it if it's that. You got to start to shift inwardly. And then just like, you know, I was saying, going back to that whole digital world, you know, that giving yourself that digital detox is so amazing. Like, I have been intentionally not getting on social media on the weekends, because I do a lot of it, like a lot of my social media is because of work. And so I'm like, I'll be like, okay, I'm just not going to get on this weekend or whatever. Maybe I'll like throw up a story or whatever. But like, it's amazing. And I still find, I'm on my phone, so I can't show you, but like, I still find like, if I'm on my phone, like my thumb will literally want to go to like my social media and like press Facebook or press Instagram or whatever. And I'll like literally see my thumb just doing it again, like a hypnosis. And then I'm like, okay, no, you don't need to be on here. What are you going to be on here? It's not going to make you feel good. You're going to feel like bleh, and like depressed afterwards. So don't go on there. So, but it's fascinating. Like, and then I'll just like go on, like, I don't know. I downloaded Sudoku onto my phone and I'm like totally loving it. Anyway, that's what I wanted to share today. Yeah. And now I'm going to go outside and I'm going to give myself a little digital detox and walk Django around the lake, because it's absolutely gorgeous here. So I love you. I am going to give myself a little skittle every time I don't go on Facebook. And you could get 2 if you don't go on Facebook and Instagram. Okay. I love you. I will see you. Oh, I won't see you next week because, I don't know, maybe I'll pop on Wednesday or something like that, because I won't be in town. And I will see you guys soon. Mwah. Love you. Bye.